Welcome to the Advancement Centre, and welcome to the world of magic and miracles. Once again, we gather to elevate our spirit and get ourselves used to living in that elevated platform of life. The one that each time it's mentioned causes energy to flow in your system that lifts you without you having to say a word. So as we mention that elevated platform of living and above it, your system automatically takes you there and brings with it the energies that you'd long forgotten. So as we return after a long break, we'd like to maintain you in that position once again, so that you are actually used to the fact that that is a real place. It's a world of magic and miracles, but it's also a real place, physically. And it exists in and around you and beyond all the limits that you can imagine. So once we see that it's possible to work with the impossible, it becomes easy and natural, and our natural way of being. When we were children, we loved to sing and dance and run and play and just follow our spirit and not even think about what comes next or what just passed. That same thing is returning to us, and it's returning to us very, very quickly. I noticed today when I was writing, the mention of explanation didn't mean much, because it's the experience, it's the feeling, it's the knowing that people are actually connected to you through some other thing than voice and sound. It's a knowing that is beyond the logical mind. It's a knowing that we've always had. If you stand in front of someone or beside them, you know if they're feeling good or not. You know if they're joyful, and you know if they're happy people. You also know the opposite. But you'll notice that the more you head towards that elevated platform of living, the only thing you'll notice is the good in everything. And what that does, it amplifies, accelerates, and brings it into reality without you doing a thing. So the more we expose ourselves to one another in the way of knowing that we know exactly what the person is thinking, feeling, intending, then the comfort and the security of being with the right people comes very, very quickly. And to know that that is a reality and you can speak about it and you can mention to somebody, wow, you're really happy today. Without conversation or asking questions, you know. And the more you know and the more you expose the fact that you know, the more you can live in that world that has mysteries that you have access to. That you have access because that's who you are. Not because you did some exercise, or you went to a class, or you meditated, or anything. It's natural, it was with you as a child, and it's still with you. The fact that you put that first instead of logic amplifies it in your world. It's never gone away, it's never diminished. But the things that we don't know about are the things that we really want. We don't want to know about them, we want them. So we want to be skillful at working with the universal way of life so that you know what's coming and you don't have to think about it. You don't have to plan, because it's done with another part of your being. If you're injured at any time and you have to repair the use of your arm or your leg or one of your limbs, you have to do a bit of practice, and you concentrate on those things exactly. But you can never get them right until they get into their own rhythm. Once they're in their own rhythm, they do it by themselves. You don't even have to say to your mind, lift my arm. You actually just lift your arm. There is a different communication system in us, around us, throughout the universe, and between us, that we have to bring to the forefront in our life, because that's the door that opens up and allows you to be the inevitable mystical being that you know you are. And you can't put that in your head or as an explanation. So what we're doing as we speak throughout this series is we're just exercising ourselves into that world of our Creator that we haven't experienced yet, but the one that we know backwards. Allowing ourselves to do nothing about it except be there, and to watch and feel the most unusual vibration happening around us, because that's our nature. The world, as it stands now, contains mysteries that we have not bothered to look at. Those mysteries have been there forever, since more than the beginning of time. And gradually, we will access those mysteries and live with them. So the talents that we have that aren't listed will actually shine through our being. The light that we see in one another is a real light. You can see in someone's eyes that they're bright and happy and shining and have energy flowing through them. And it is a light. But it's not the same as the definition of the physical light that you switch on in the house. It's a light that is beyond perception by the average senses. But it's obvious to everyone if you allow it to glow. So now in the world that you experience every day, you can see the greater part of what you're looking at. You can see the glow in every person. You can see the beauty in everything around you. And there lies the key to our future, to where we all have a unique sense of everything beyond what we've been shown, so that we are in a position to show what nobody else has ever seen. And each individual has that ability, and they don't need any approval. They don't need any conditions, and they don't need the right circumstance, because that glow creates all circumstance. It changes people's lives. It changes the nature of everything around the person who is glowing. And the ability for everyone to do the same is not the same ability. Each person has a totally different ability, and each glow is unique. the pressure of everyday life is not what it's about. That pressure disappears as soon as you are on top of it. As soon as you elevate yourself to where you can look down on everything with a smile and with comfort and know that you are adding perfection into that mix. It's easy to talk about many, many things, but the greatest thing is to allow yourself to enter the world of magic and miracles and stay there and never be dragged out. That world will change and move and modify 1,000,000 times a day. And so it keeps you so active, following what comes next, and even having a laugh about it, that you're not interested in doing anything that's mundane, that's overtaxing, that demands anything of you. Because you can see past all that, and you can see that if your intention, and it's not the thought intention, the intention of your whole being is to have a perfect life, that's what you'll have. But it won't be exactly as you see if you imagine it. It's too unique and it's so much better. I was listening to a gentleman speaking about the art of mind powers that's been taught over many years in many of the countries of the world, and how from a young age they're taught to be positive, to really know what the factors are that they're looking at, to know how much content there is for the elements that they talk about in the world, which is earth, fire, wood, and I can't remember the next one. But he actually explained that that technique took everybody to the point where there was no technique. And that's what got me. I thought, that's great. When you can train yourself to be outside of all techniques, you then have access to all the things that you have never seen. And so he was showing how you could actually create something just by, it's not imagination, but by bringing all the energies together that give you the right balance of gravity and electromagnetism. And he was creating specific things in a bottle. Some took a week, some took 20 to 30 days. And I said to myself, that's what I've known all along. I didn't need any training. I just needed to see that at least one other person can do the same. And he said, if you advance further, you can break rocks. And he said, with your mind, but I know it's more than that. It's a special mind that's way beyond what we can see at the moment. So throughout my life, I've made things happen that nobody accepted, including putting people back together when they hurt themselves. This, in the world that we're used to, happens randomly to many people. But if you use your logic, you can see that it doesn't happen randomly. It happens because you entered the random field, where you go and you follow very quickly whatever direction comes to you to achieve what you need. And in fractions of a second, major changes happen around you. So what we're heading towards is entering that random field where we follow our own spirit and experience more than magic. We experience our own skill of being able to gather from the universe whatever we need. And it's not done by setting a picture in your head. As I always say, you don't ask yourself a question when someone throws a ball straight between your eyes. Your hand goes up by itself. And you call it a reflex action, but what generates that reflex action? What's outside of you that is more sensitive than anything in your mind, than anything you can train at? Even if you're 100-year-old, you can respond faster than a young child because it's a different set of tools. And where I want to take everybody is to that little place where you can say to yourself, this is possible. And once you're there, you'll find that it just starts to flow, where you start to make things happen that you can't tell anybody about. And then the next step will be we start to tell one another about all these strange experiences, about all the things that happen because we dared to follow our spirit. And we never looked logic in the eye. Just moved forward and it all happened. So as we move into new aspects of all this, there'll be no explanation, but I'll make sure that you're exposed to the feeling of it, to the knowing of it, and to the world that holds it. And we all know the world of magic and miracles. We all have been through the various stages of saying yes and no, yes and no. But when you go back and look at how quickly a child responds to the magic wand or the fairy dress, you know that that's where we came from. And you know that we should have been able to continue to use those skills and more without being like trained goats. And I didn't say monkeys, I said goats, because we don't think, we just do. We don't feel the other person enough. We think we know through that thought pattern or what we've been taught, or you passed an exam. But what we're doing now is bringing everybody to where it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is you. And you know that to you, the only thing that matters is everybody else. Because without that interaction, our field is broken and none of us can do anything. And that's been the purpose of many, many acts over the years was to break that connection so that we wouldn't be so powerful. And the only thing you're allowed to be powerful in now is something negative. So let's look forward to this power of not just of positivity, the power that comes in a positive manner naturally into our world if we're game enough to follow our spirit. And each day, as you look on this, what you think is the same scene, tell yourself you haven't looked yet. You're only looking at what you saw either yesterday or the day before or the first time you stood there. Each time you look at another person, you may look at their clothes being different. You may look at their hairstyle. I don't see any of that. I see a being that's glowing, that's transmitting all sorts of things to me with a heartfelt desire for me to know. And when that happens, it's overwhelming. It's what we all remember from our origin, how we shared one another and our graciousness and respect that had nothing to do with any standards. The brilliance of each being is known to everybody. And once we step forward into that world of magic and miracles and allow all these new gifts that we have, which are all the inputs and outputs that we never take any notice of, we will really enjoy one another. And above all, we'll enjoy ourselves. So now, the approach is not what you do. The approach is what you are. And as you stand and feel everything around you, know that there's a part there that you haven't connected with yet. It's that part that makes your hand jump up if someone throws a ball between your eyes. It's that part that responds if a child suddenly starts to fall. It's that bit that knows that someone's hurting. And it's also that bit that knows somebody's okay. It doesn't fail with distance. It doesn't have to have written knowledge. And it knows beyond a doubt whether you have to be involved in something or you don't. And so the world that you experience is the world that you're actually supposed to experience. As we move forward, we will demonstrate many things through science, through technology, that will prove that what we're talking about now is real. I suggest you don't wait for that. I suggest that you move way ahead of the team so you don't get in the wave, so that the wave will carry you, and the wave of proof will just bring a smile to your face. So the intelligence that we need is already with us, and it's not measured by qualification, nor is it measured by ability. It's not measured at all. It just is. And it's beyond anything we can carve onto a tablet and say that that's who I am. Now that we are happy to even talk about the impossible, we can actually take it on. But we don't take it on head on. Like if you want to stop a truck, you don't stand in front of it. You get to where the controls are. And you can do that by signaling the driver. You don't have to be the doer. So even the control of a storm is not by trying to stir up the storm. It's by going to the controller and not asking, just signaling. Everything in the universe wants to do what you want. But if you go through logic, it doesn't work. Because you, through your logic, wanted to stop a storm, you would want to go head on and stop the storm. You want to grab it and stop it. But if you go to where you know that everything is controlled, the controller will do everything possible to make sure that what you need is perfected and done uniquely for you. It doesn't mean that it won't be the same, that it'll be the same for everyone else. It means it'll be correct for you. In saying that, I'm getting towards the front edge of the fields that create everything. And those fields will obey you. Just like if you want to, you can hold your hands up and create a ball of energy, and you can feel it. And many of the exercises that people have done over the years, you can feel. You can make yourself feel love. You can make yourself feel anything. But if you go beyond that, to where it all works together, there is another sense. It's like not another world, it's another you. It's that bigger, more simplistic, but overpowered and over emotion. Can't think of the word, but it's more than you. And I only have to talk about it and your energy rises, because that's who you are. And that's the elevated being that we're on the edge of working with. And the power behind it is enormous. But you don't need power, you need nothing. Understand that there is no understanding needed. It's just a new you, one that you've always wanted. And it's there at your fingertips, just by talking about it, just by experiencing, following your spirit, and just by knowing that at least somebody in the world, and many beyond, are experiencing it every day. So when I talk about various things, the energies that come with it appear in your world. The reason for this is because that's exactly what you ask. And the timing for humanity itself, for the whole entity, is past. We have access. We have all these abilities. We can use them right now. The only thing that stops it is when you say, well, tell me what that means. What that does is stops the flow, because it doesn't mean anything. The flow of your beauty cannot be described, can only be experienced. And it's experienced by everyone, and it's experienced differently by everyone. But it is the flow of your beauty, and it does continue forever. And because the flow of your beauty has so many qualities, you can go with it. You can go with that flow and feel the energy grow and feel your lifeline actually coming out for you. This is the lifeline of your creator. This is where we're going. And the brilliance of every one of you will be felt over and over and over again for centuries to come. But it's that part of you that you need in the physical world so that you can demonstrate that brilliance in a medium which we call matter state. You can hold your hands either side of a glass of water and change the water. You can heat something up with your hands without even touching it. Many, many people do all these things. You can project energy to someone who's not well. You can project energy to someone to lift them and increase their abilities. You watch in the audience when a great singer sings perfectly because of the audience. I can go on. You go to somebody's athletics, and if they've got more supporters there, they win. Because we can drive our field into anybody else's field and increase their experience in their world. Where we are heading is beyond logic and beyond technology. And we're also playing with technology to show the reality of it. The biggest problem with playing with technology is they've set some rules. You have to follow certain things, otherwise it doesn't show up. But with us, there are no rules. You don't have to follow anything. You just have to know there's another part of you that you haven't really experienced yet. And with all that, I reiterate the words that I've said many, many times. I offer you perfect life, perfect health, and a magic future. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.